A person who had moved to Chicago and was not even originally from that place he moved into, and yet his name is forever etched in that place. His name is Al Capone, which is synonymous to Chicago's mob rule and prohibition. Indeed, Al Capone is Chicago.
Please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification as well if you haven't done so. Thank you.
More than 100 years had passed and tremendous development had taken place, making Chicago of what it is now. There is the Millennium Park, which is home to the Bean and the interactive fountains, public art, and plenty of green spaces, among other attractions in the park. Or the Magnificent Mile, which is Chicago's largest shopping district and also one of the most expensive shopping places in the United States. The Chicago River is also a place not to miss, where one could experience the city's magnificent architectures and its beautiful skyline from a river vantage point, or just drive leisurely along the Prairie Avenue that houses the city's first neighborhood of mansions, or get mesmerized with the old Chicago Water Tower, the only iconic structure left standing during the Great Fire of 1871, together with some 6 other buildings that survived the 2 days catastrophic inferno. One could also enjoy the breeze as well as the breathtaking view of Chicago's skyline along the shoreline of Lake Michigan, or take a look at the equally quiet and well-maintained subdivision houses in the heart of Chicago. When one had seen some, if not all of what Chicago has to offer, a trip to the Windy City would not be complete, at least, without experiencing even a little of those places that Alphonse Gabriel Capone, better known as Al Capone, had left his footprints on. True, some may not like the idea of revisiting those places associated with the most famous gangster in the US, but for all intent and purposes, Al Capone and his mob rule is part of Chicago's history that one cannot deny or erase. At age 20, Al Capone joined Johnny Torrio in Chicago to help run a giant brothel business under Chicago's crime boss, Big Jim Colosimo. Shortly after Al Capone's arrival, Colosimo was assassinated. Torrio and Capone took over, but after an assassination attempt on Torrio's life, he quit and eventually turned over the empire to Al Capone. Al Capone expanded the Chicago outfit of its illegal activities and went full blast on bootlegging when Prohibition took effect, and placing law authorities and politicians under his payroll. He was ruthless with his rival gangs or enemies. He beat them or blew them up. But for the unemployed, he was soft on them. He opened a soup kitchen, fed them every day free, no question asked. On Thanksgiving Day in 1931, Al Capone fed about 5,000 men, women, and children. He also donated large amount of money to charities. Thus, he was known not only as the first ever public enemy #1 of the US, but also as the quintessential Robin Hood, something that few criminals has ever achieved in their lifetime. Let's go now to some places that had been associated with him. The Green Mill, a cocktail lounge and a jazz club run by Machine Gun Jack McGurn during the Prohibition. Capone maintained a booth in this club that had an obstructed view of who's coming in and out. If Capone saw trouble coming in, he and his men would rush into a tunnel below the bar. The tunnel was also used to smuggle in booze. The Exchequer Restaurant and Pub, located below the L tracks near the Adams Wabas station, was also one of Al Capone's favorite watering hole, as it was also said to have an underground tunnels that Capone used to avoid any trouble. The Blackstone Hotel, also frequented by Al Capone primarily for the barber shop. Al loved the barbershop for its windowless structure that he felt secured from any assassin out to get him. Blackstone had been famous for its glamorous facilities. Of course, there was this Capone's original home at the Southside Park Manors neighborhood. Located at 7244 South Prairie Avenue, this was where he had his mother Teresa, wife May, and son Sonny live when he had them relocated from New York a year after he moved to Chicago. It was a humble spot contrary to the glamour and guts that Al Capone lived and enjoyed. Finally, Al Capone's crash pad at 1600 Austin Boulevard in Cicero for his late-night parties. The house had a heavy steel door, an 8-foot backyard fence, and an underground escape tunnel with 2 or more bodyguards prowling the grounds at all times. Changes has been made that the old picture for what the house had been are no longer there. But like anything else, things will come to an end or the happy days will be gone. Al Capone's life of celebrity and embellishments would be marred with assassination attempts, court cases, prison terms, syphilis, gonorrhea. Sentenced to 11 years in prison for tax evasion, he was released almost close to 8 years when his disease had deteriorated. During the late stages of his syphilis disease, known as paresis, he developed the mentality of a 12-year-old child that he could not remember anymore, where he kept all his money believed to amount to almost $100 million upon his release from prison. He died in 1947 at a young age of 48 from cardiac arrest. Who knows, why not? When you visit Chicago, you might find Al Capone's money. His 100 million could still be anywhere in Chicago. Just remember Al Capone when in Chicago.